He had no friends. The only person he was in contact with was his sister. His sister was at home that night. There are witnesses who can confirm this. The primary crime scene hasn't been located. The murder weapon hasn't been found either. Even if he did kill Li Xiang, we couldn't secure a conviction. That's true. Based on our investigations and interviews, Li Xiang didn't really have any hobbies. His only pastime was watching Tang Yuyu's live streams. His life was a simple routine between two places, the duty office and his rented apartment. We found no evidence of him going anywhere else. In my opinion, since Li Xiang is already dead, let's put his case aside for the moment. Let's focus on investigating who killed him. We might uncover something that way. Apart from what's documented in the case file, are there any other leads? Seeing Yang Shu shake his head, Hu Yang's expression darkened. Just then, Chen Dalei walked to the front of the blackboard. He took out a photograph and posted it. Ah, Chen Xiao. Do you know him? Yes, we were high school classmates. We didn't keep in touch much after I got into the police academy. Is he a suspect? Yes. So from what you know of him, what kind of person is Chen Xiao? He was handsome, friendly, got good grades. He got along great with everyone. A lot of girls in our class had a crush on him back then. No real flaws to speak of. So, in your eyes, he was a pretty perfect person? Pretty much. That's how I remember him, yes. Did he have any quirks? Any unsettling habits? No. In my memory, he was perfect. Whether it was classmates, teachers, or parents, they all had nothing but praise for him. Hu Yang nodded. Then he closed his eyes, seemingly deep in thought. Chen Dalei, seeing Hu Yang had no further questions for the moment, briefly outlined Chen Xiao's social background. Then he recounted everything that had happened previously concerning the case. It was only then that Yang Shu learned what his mentor, Chen Dalei, had just gone through. From the sound of it, this guy seems somewhat reckless. He has no respect for the law. People like that are definitely dangerous. I don't see it that way. From the social background we just heard, we know that Chen Xiao's father, Chen Xiang, is a nationally renowned psychologist. So he wouldn't be short of money. And his social standing is also quite high. Chen Xiao is, you could say, your typical fuerdai, a second-generation kid born into wealth. It might not sound right to put it this way, and I'm not entirely comfortable with what I'm about to say, but I have to say it. The more ordinary someone's family background, the more they tend to respect the law, because when injustices happen to people from such backgrounds, apart from hoping for the law's impartiality, they have no other recourse. But for someone like Chen Xiao, it's different. When something unfair happens to him, he has many ways to resolve it. Money, status, connections, all of these can help him solve problems. And these methods are often quicker and more effective than the law, at least from his perspective. To him, the law isn't a shield to ensure his own safety, but a tool to be exploited. It's quite normal for such a person to inherently lack reverence for the law. People fear knives, swords, and guns. But do people fear everyday household items? It's the same principle. This is why many successful people meticulously look for legal loopholes, while ordinary people generally don't. Their ways of looking at things are different, and that creates this disparity. He could have directly filed a complaint against team leader Chen, but he didn't. He chose this method as a warning to team leader Chen, a way of saying, "Don't bother me again if you don't have evidence." Compared to a formal complaint, which might have had little real impact, he believed this approach would leave a much stronger, more lasting impression on team leader Chen. And indeed, it did. So, in my opinion, suspecting Chen Xiao based solely on this particular behavior doesn't quite add up. It only proves that he's very clever. And the reason you all find it unacceptable, feeling that he's provoked the sanctity of the law, is simply because you haven't yet shifted your perspective away from that conventional mentality I was just describing. As he said this, Hu Yang saw it register on both their faces, that distinct look of finding his words hard to accept. He sighed, then continued. All right then, let me ask you, did Chen Xiao actually break the law? Did his actions cause any tangible damages? Yang Shu desperately wanted to argue, but found that Hu Yang's points were quite reasonable. Seeing that no one spoke, Hu Yang didn't press the previous question further. Instead, his tone shifted as he said, Of course, I'm not saying all this to make excuses for him. Quite the contrary, I suspect him too. But my suspicion stems from a different angle. It's about his character, the kind of person he truly is. From Yu Tongtong's earlier description, we know that Chen Xiao projects an image of absolute perfection to the outside world. But can a person, or rather, a normal person, truly have no flaws at all? I believe there must be some, but he's hiding them. He might have even been hiding them from a very young age. What kind of flaw, then, do you all suppose it is? What kind of flaw do you suppose would make someone learn to disguise themselves from such a young age? Hearing Hu Yang's words, everyone seemed to have a moment of sudden realization. Since we all suspect him, Yu Tongtong said, I have an idea. What is it? He and I were high school classmates, weren't we? And I haven't been back in years. I could invite him under the pretext of organizing a class reunion. He probably wouldn't refuse. That way, I can get close to him and try to sound him out. Hearing this plan, Chen Dali frowned. It's a good plan in principle, but it's a bit risky. If Chen Xiao really is the killer, you'd be in a very dangerous position. I'm a police officer, sir, Yu Tongtong stated. Don't worry, sir. She'll have plenty of backup from us, Yang Shu interjected. Nothing will go wrong. Chen Dele hesitated for a moment, then nodded in agreement. Seeing everyone agree, Yu Tongtong took out her phone and sent a message to the class group chat. He agreed. Yu Tongtong felt a surge of excitement. Her mother's death years ago had always been a nightmare for her. She was desperate to find the real killer. This was also why she was part of the special task force. A class reunion, huh? This would be a good chance to learn from these classmates what the original owner of this body was really like. Because my memories are incomplete, I really don't know what kind of person the original owner usually was. There's still some time before that. Right now, I need to think carefully about where exactly the original owner and Li Xiang committed the crime. This place must be well hidden. The police still haven't found it. That suggests Li Xiang didn't go there often. But since the original owner intended to frame Li Xiang, the place must be discoverable by the police. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense. First, I have to rule out the apartment and his home. In Li Xiang's daily life, his only obsession was spying on Tang Yuyu. At night, he could sneak into Tang Yuyu's house. But what about during the day? A pervert like him, when he couldn't see Tang Yuyu, must have been itching, tormented by an almost physical craving. At times like that, how would he relieve his inner torment? Stalking Tang Yuyu was one option. But Tang Yuyu was an internet celebrity. Her days, apart from sleeping, were mostly spent live streaming. She likely had very little free time herself. So during her breaks, she was either shopping or at a spa. Both. Places are crowded, not good spots to make a move. So what else could she have been doing? If Tang Yuyu went out, there were two other possibilities. One, to meet her top-ranking whale fan, or two, to visit places for photo ops and social media check-ins. I quickly grabbed my phone and started scrolling through the daily vlogs Tang Yuyu had filmed before her death. After watching all of them, I didn't find anything obviously suspicious. Yet, I had a gut feeling, an intuition, that I was getting closer to the truth. I went into her fan group chat and discovered that the original owner had confessed his feelings to Tang Yuyu, but had been rejected. I looked at the screen-recorded live streams and her usual check-in spots. Finally, I found the location that was most likely the primary crime scene. The next day, I went to the location. I was a bit puzzled why Tang Yuyu would come here. From my perspective, there wasn't much to see. I went to the exact spot where Tang Yuyu had filmed her video. There, I saw 2 sets of footprints on the ground. If these footprints belonged to Li Xiang and Tang Yuyu, it would mean she had followed Li Xiang willingly. How could that be possible? Following the footprints further, after about 5 minutes, I reached the actual crime scene. Looking at the large blood stain on the ground and the disheveled surroundings, it appeared the 2 of them had a struggle here. Then, Tang Yuyu was killed. Meticulously examined the area. Before long, I found a murder weapon. It was a boning knife, stained with blood. Clearly, this knife had been used by Li Xiang. The one the original owner used was already hidden in his parents' cellar. Footprints were numerous, yet they were clearly all from a single person, the original set, the owner. How did he manage to clean his own trousseau thoroughly? After a long while, having found nothing else, I got up and left. Staying there was too oppressive. I couldn't stop thinking about the brutal scene that had unfolded. Back home, I still couldn't make sense of these questions. I don't know why, but I just felt this place held some secret. If I didn't uncover this secret, I wouldn't be able to rest. I sifted through my fragmented memories of time spent with Tang Yuyu. I recalled one of Tang Yuyu's close female friends. Back when the original owner was pursuing Tang Yuyu, he and this friend had eaten together, and even added each other as contacts. They hadn't contacted each other since. In my memory, this friend and Tang Yuyu were university classmates. After she agreed to speak, I called Tang Yuyu's friend. From her, I learned that Tang Yuyu was originally from Zhuxian County. Later, when she started making money, she bought a house in Yin City and officially registered her household there. That's when she changed all her information to reflect Yin City as her residence. I decided to take a trip there, so I asked my superior for leave. My superior also knew about the murder case that had occurred near my home, understood my feelings, and approved it. My superior knew about the murder case near my home. They understood my feelings and approved the leave. Some lives are just destined for toil, it seems. By the time I reached Zhuxian County, night had already fallen. I found a simple guest house without much fuss and settled in. The next day, I found myself at the edge of a pond in the county town. The water in this pond was remarkably clear, as was the surrounding scenery. It bore no resemblance whatsoever to the crime scene. Could I really have been overthinking things? Big brother, there's a man-eating demon in the pond. You be careful now. Don't get too close. A faint smile touched my lips. I knew this was just a tale concocted by the adults in town, a way to keep children from playing by the pond and getting into trouble. But then the child's mention of a demon struck a chord. It bore a certain resemblance to the devil in Devil's Tier. Still, such a conjecture felt a little too far-fetched. Since I was here, I figured I might as well ask around, see if anything noteworthy had ever happened at this pond. Sir, has anything unusual ever happened in this pond? A murder once took place here. My eyes narrowed. I didn't interrupt the old man. Only when the old man had finished his account did I ask. The family involved back then, what was their surname? Do you happen to recall? Of course, I remember. How could anyone forget something that significant? That family's surname was Tang. It clicked. Everything fell into place. I finally understood why Tang Yuyu would have gone to that other place. I felt I had pieced together the broad strokes of Tang Yuyu's tragic story. Yet, there was no elation in this discovery of the truth. If my suspicions were correct, then the entire affair was deeply, grotesquely ironic. Although it was still just a theory, judging from the evidence at the scene, I felt my guess was 9/10 of the way to the truth. To confirm my suspicions, I called Tang Yuyu's close friend again. After some careful questions, I obtained a piece of information. It only served to solidify my hypothesis. In what felt like the blink of an eye, the appointed day for the reunion arrived. I arrived early. At the designated restaurant, I'd assumed I would be the first one there. Unexpectedly, however, inside the restaurant, someone was already waiting. "Well, hello there, handsome. Long time no see. You're here so early." "Long time no see," I replied. "I didn't have much else on, so I came over. You've changed so much. I almost didn't recognize you. It has been many years, after all. Change is inevitable. You, on the other hand, haven't changed a bit. Still as handsome as I remember. We haven't kept in touch since high school graduation. What are you up to these days?" "I'm with a small establishment, making animal specimens, taxidermy." Taxidermy? I don't recall you having such a hobby in high school." "Oh, I've always enjoyed it. It's just that, well, how should I put it? For many people, this particular pastime is still a bit difficult to accept. After all, it involves handling animal carcasses. Some people are bound to find it distasteful. Back then, I was worried about unsettling my classmates, so I kept it to myself. What about you, by the way?" "Me? I'm a police officer now. I'm back in Yin City for an assignment." "A police officer, you say? Impressive. A woman holding her own in a man's world, eh? Very impressive indeed. So you must have returned to investigate the Qibao apartment murder case. Is that it?" "So, that meant she organized this class reunion to investigate me?" Before long, the private room gradually filled with people. After a few rounds of drinks had loosened tongues, everyone began to share amusing stories and anecdotes from their lives. As the conversation flowed, the topic naturally, inevitably, drifted towards the recent murder case that had shaken Yin City. Seizing the moment, I dropped two rather explosive pieces of information. One was about Li Xiang's voyeuristic tendencies. The other was that I, myself, had once pursued Tang Yuyu, and these two topics certainly captured Yu Tongtong's attention. As the gathering began to break up, Yu Tongtong approached me. She leaned in and whispered, "What exactly were you trying to imply just now?" "Want to know?" "If you really want to know, come with me." "Where are we going?" "To Devil's Tier." "Why there?" "That place is just your typical photo op location," she said dismissively. "Nothing particularly special to see." "Have you been there?" "Before? Of course I have. But after that one visit, I never wanted to go back." "I haven't been yet," I said. "I'd like to see it for myself." "You don't want to go?" she asked. "True, but I suppose one more visit wouldn't hurt," she conceded. "All right, you can tell me now, can't you?" "No rush," I said, my voice even. "Wait. I'll tell you when we get there." Yu Tongtong was clearly perplexed, but she could only nod in agreement. "I know you're here to investigate me," I stated, my tone casual. "Your police force suspects me. If, and this is purely hypothetical of course, if I were the killer, then you, following me all alone like this, do you have any idea what you'd be facing?" I glanced at the rearview mirror of the car we were now in. "Is someone following us?" Yu Tongtong asked, her voice carefully neutral. "You've misunderstood," I replied smoothly. "Whether the police suspect you or not, I wouldn't know. I'm not the officer in charge of this particular case. I merely came to Yin City on a work trip." Yu Tongtong's expression remained impassive, but inwardly a knot of unease began to tighten. She knew, after all, that her colleagues were tailing, them ostensibly to ensure her safety, but now she wasn't so sure. She wasn't sure of her own safety. Had Chen Xiao's earlier words been a test? I finally understood, she thought. why team leader Chen Xiao and Yang Shu were so deeply suspicious of him. He was far too abnormal. I could clearly sense the undercurrent of madness within him. What's more, he seemed to revel in it. It wasn't long before they reached their destination. Yu Tongtong surveyed the desolate scene, a prickle of unease crawling over her skin. "Well, we're here. Shouldn't you tell me now? I can sense your fear," he said. "What is it you're afraid of? You know I'm a police officer." "Why should I be afraid?" "I'm merely puzzled as to why you've brought me to this place, and what exactly you intend to tell me." "Everyone feels fear. It has nothing to do with who you are. However, since you claim not to be afraid, then come along with me." As the two of them strolled along the lake's edge, Yang Shu and his team had also arrived nearby. "If we follow now," Yang Shu thought, "we'll be too close and risk exposing ourselves. But if we don't follow, I feel Yu Tongtong will be in danger. What should we do? What are you looking for?" "A stone," he replied, "one that fits the hand. Don't just stand there idle. Come over and help me find one." "What do you need a stone for?" Yu Tongtong frowned, a knot of tension tightening in her chest. She surreptitiously moved her hand towards her phone, her fingers hovering over the keys. "You'll know once I find one." "Are you scared?" he taunted. "I thought you said you weren't afraid. What in God's name are you planning?" "What am I planning?" he echoed. "Come a bit closer. Don't stand so far away. Come closer and I'll tell you." This unsettling tableau prompted Yu Tongtong to instinctively retreat another couple of steps. "There. You go, backing away again? Why don't you dare come any closer? You are afraid? I'm afraid. I might hurt you." Yu Tongtong, seeing Chen Xiao suddenly flare with agitation, instinctively jabbed the speed dial button on her phone. Outside, Yang Shu instantly received the signal. He and his colleagues charged forward without a moment's hesitation. "Yu Tongtong! Yu Tongtong!" Yang Shu yelled. "Well, this is most regrettable," Chen Xiao said, his voice laced with mock disappointment. "Regrettable? What do you mean regrettable?" Yang Shu demanded. "I was merely looking for a stone to skip across the water. That's all. Boys will be boys, you know. Sometimes we do rather childish things." "Well, well, Officer Yang," he drawled. "Fancy meeting you here." Yang Shu was finding Chen Xiao's increasingly erratic behavior intolerable. He decided to get Yu Tongtong out of there. "Aren't you all even a little curious," Chen Xiao interjected, "as to why I brought you all to this particular spot?" "Why?" Yang Shu asked, his patience wearing thin. "Once upon a time," Chen Xiao began, his voice taking on a storyteller's cadence, "there was a little girl. Her father was an alcoholic, prone to violent outbursts. Every day she lived in a state of constant gnawing fear. The roar of a motorcycle in the dead of night had become her personal nightmare, because she knew that sound, so late, meant her father was home, and that, more often than not, meant another beating. What could she possibly do? She could only feign sleep, praying for the night to end swiftly. Then, one particular night, her father hadn't returned as usual. She knew he was out drinking. Again. She was terrified, too terrified to sleep. Then, the motorcycle's rumble split the midnight silence. Her fear intensified. She squeezed her eyes shut tightly, desperate to signal to her father that she was already asleep. But tragically, that night, her father was in a particularly foul temper. Listening to her mother's agonized cries, she clamped, her hand tightly over her own mouth, stifling any sound that might escape. She believed that by doing so, perhaps her father wouldn't notice her, but her hopes were cruelly dashed. She was yanked to her feet. The sudden movement terrified her. He raised his hand, about to strike her. Terrified, she dodged away and fled outside. Her father pursued her relentlessly. She ran towards a pond in the village, remembering how the village elders used to say that a man-eating demon dwelled within its depths. Of course, we all know now that this was just an old wives' tale, a story fabricated to keep children away from the water's edge. But she, at that tender age, believed it without a shadow of a doubt. Seeing her father closing in on her from behind, a seemingly normal, yet utterly terrifying idea took root in her mind, to let the demon devour her father. That way her father could never ever hurt her again. At that very moment her father reached her. Seizing a moment when her father was momentarily distracted, she shoved him with all her might. He tumbled into the water. Drunk as he was, his limbs refused to obey his commands. He thrashed desperately in the murky pond water. The little girl stood at the water's edge, watching, just watching, as her father slipped further and further beneath the surface until, at last, his figure vanished from sight entirely. She believed it was the man-eating demon in the pond, the one that had devoured her father. A wave of fear washed over her. But it wasn't fear that her father was dead. Rather, it was fear of the demon lurking in the pond. She scrambled back home in a blind panic and blurted out the whole story to her mother. A mother's love, as they say, is a powerful force. She took all the blame onto her own shoulders, and everyone believed her. No one would ever have imagined that the person who had truly killed the father was this little girl, because at the time she was far too young. And so the matter seemingly concluded there. The mother, because she confessed and due to the established history of domestic violence, did not receive a severe sentence. So, what do you make of that story? Chen Xiao asked, a chilling smile playing on his lips. Yang Shu and the others, though they didn't know,